Hello guys, welcome to our channel. So today we'll discuss about green energy and its future. So Rudra, what are your thoughts about green energy and its upcoming future?
Yeah, so before we begin on how it will go in the future, I think it is important that we realize what is green energy and what it means in regards to the different energy sources like renewable energy, sustainable energy, clean energy. We often think that
Hmm.
green energy and renewable energy are the same, but it isn't. Green energy is actually a subset of renewable
Hmm.
energy. Uh, like all the green energies come under renewable energy, but not uh, all the renewable energies are green.
Right, right.
Yeah. So because for example, both solar energy and biomass energy are renewable sources of energy, but biomass energy is definitely not green source of energy because
Hmm. Hmm.
it causes air pollution through combustion, and there is solid waste material, so obviously it is not green.
Yeah, there
So
is a residue that is
yeah,
left over.
that is not healthy for the environment. So here
Right,
we are commonly discussing about the uh, resource materials which are good for the environment. So yeah.
right. So when we talk about green energy, so like majorly India is right now progressing in this field of green energy, right?
Yeah.
So there are several like models which Indian government is trying to adopt.
Yeah.
So I think the first model is the solar energy model. We have, as we all know, that we are a tropical country, and for the aspect of being a tropical country is that we have an average of 300 days which are sunny, right?
Yeah.
So the future of solar energy production in India is very high because like um, basically, so what happens is we are like now right now exporting like the solar energy cells from different countries, right?
Yeah.
From China and from USA. So we need to consider this fact and we need to start manufacturing our own solar cell
Yes,
and fuel
obviously.
cell, right? So in the old times there was this economic growth model which was old, so it was named as old economic growth model. In that model what happened was the major economy was based on fossil fuels for energy,
Yeah.
right? So like in the today's world, the superpowers which are China, USA, they are all adopting the new economic growth model, which is the renewable energy, right? So they are all shifting towards renewable sources of energy like water, and then they are
Solar.
using solar energy and all that. So major mega projects are being developed in China and USA for such.
Yeah, and we have seen that in the recent years that China and
Hmm.
US have most prominently been the biggest investors in these
Hmm.
platforms. I
Right.
think in 2017 China spent over 120 billions for
Hmm.
renewable resources, and uh,
Right.
US at no in 2018 or maybe in 2020 uh, uh, US invested over $80 billion. So these prominent countries are highly invested in these
Hmm.
markets, and that is what we need to do, but that is not we can do right now
Hmm.
because India is
So
still
we
a
have,
developing country.
yeah, and we have also actually also set a target
Yeah.
of about generating 175 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2022, like this
Okay.
year, right? And it involves about 100 gigawatts of solar energy and 60 gigawatts of wind energy,
Okay.
right? But we are not right now generating this solar energy, and the solar equipment with like the manufacturing industry is also not given more importance in this like the solar pushover in India.
Yeah. Yes, obviously, because our Prime Minister recently went to the COP26 event in Glasgow last year, and
Hmm. Hmm.
there he talked about how India has set a target for net zero emissions by 2070. So,
Hmm.
2070 is still a quite far away, and uh, beyond that, India gave certain targets by the end of 2030, which will be our
Hmm.
goals for the foreseeable
Hmm.
future, which is that India will ensure that 50% of its energy will be sourced
Hmm.
from renewable energy sources in by the end of this decade, and it will
Right.
reduce its carbon emissions
Hmm.
by a billion tons.
Carbon, basically carbon footprints which we
Yeah,
are leaving
yeah,
behind.
through the
Right.
burning of coal and all that. So we will
Hmm.
reduce it by a billion tons by the end of this decade, and
Hmm.
India, that like you said, that India would also install gigawatts of renewable energy. So for
Hmm.
2022, you said it's 100 gigawatts. Yeah, right.
Yeah, nahin, 175 gigawatts
Acha,
of total
175.
renewable energy,
Okay.
and it consists of 100 gigawatts of solar energy.
Yeah. So by 2030, the goal is to 500 gigawatts, which is,
Hmm.
as per my knowledge, that 50 gigawatts increase from its existing targets. So
Okay.
these are the few points that our prime minister made in the Glasgow event. So for a
Hmm.
developing country like India, I think it is a good target
Yeah,
that
and
we
it
cannot
also generates
completely
like
walk
it
away
also
from it.
hmm.
Yeah.
And it also generates various opportunity for like employment and various
Yes.
aspects in like the rural development also happens when the solar plants installed in our country. So like the income is also generated because
Yes.
in the solar production what happens is we need to install like the solar plants in the various cities and various homes. So there are basically three types of labors which can be used. It can be skilled labor, it can be semi-skilled, and it can be unskilled labor, right?
Yeah.
So all types of labor are required in the solar production, and like the fuel which we are importing from various countries, and the fossil fuels will be reduced if
Yeah.
the solar dependency increases in India, right? And like we also get basically clean environment and a good quality of life.
Yeah. Yes, these are other, you know, fair points
Hmm.
that we get
Right.
in this struggle. And
Hmm.
as we were discussing, that India is a developing nation, so it will take its time. As our industry is uh, growing.
Hmm.
Coal, still rely heavily on coal. Like India relies heavily for cement, chemicals, steel, and
Yeah.
aluminium. So
Hmm.
all this is made by the usage of coal, and
Hmm.
including road transport and aviation and shipping. All these also
Hmm.
contribute significantly to our emissions, which cannot
Hmm.
just
Right.
we cannot just walk away from it. We need it for now, but yes,
Hmm.
for a developing country like India, we can slowly move towards net zero emissions. So yeah.
Yes, like there is this city in Chhattisgarh, which is the Korba city. So there are about four thermal power plants which are
Okay.
installed in the Korba city itself, right? And
Hmm.
it is one of the most polluted city on earth. Like the coal which is used to generate thermal power, they pollute the environment so much that the people that are living near the coal factories, their quality of life actually decreases about nine average of 9 years per person,
Their
right?
lifespans.
Yeah, their lifespans decreases about average of 9 years uh, per person.
Yeah.
So this is the problem in many major cities in India. For example, Delhi is one of the example, and then like all the cities where the thermal power plants
Industrial.
and
Yeah.
industrial power plants are existing. So there it seems to be a problem with that.
Yes, and it is not easy to just switch from coal. It will need time and money, and the option we have is green hydrogen. But to switch from
Hmm.
coal to green hydrogen, we need solar energy, which is a
Right.
sector that itself is in development.
Hmm.
So we can switch to hydrogen, but it needs time. Uh, So yes, but in India there are like you were discussing before, that many investments have taken place in India. Many steps have been taken in India. Even our government recently approved equity infusion of 1500 crore in Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited, which is IREDA. So it will help these people lend over 12,000 crore rupees to the renewable energy sector, which will facilitate the debt requirements of renewable energy sector, and it will help them put out 3500 to 4000 megawatts of renewable energy. So
Oh.
yeah, so it is a hefty challenge, but they are taking measures. And apart from that, it will also enhance its net worth, the net worth of the IREDA, which will help it to gain additional financing for its renewable energy projects, and they'll be better enabled to contribute to the government's targets for the future. So yeah.
Right. So, like we also need to work upon our dependency on China for
Yeah.
various projects. Like we are basically, like we need to generate so much of solar power for India, but the annual solar cell manufacturing capacity is about 3 gigawatts, and the annual demand is about 20 gigawatts, right?
Yeah.
So to match this 70 gigawatts, we need to install as many solar cell
Solar cell,
manufacturing
yeah.
companies as possible,
Yeah.
right? And the top 10 major players which are generating the solar cell are all Chinese, which are working in India, right? So we have already imported about 16 billion worth of solar equipment from China, and if we go through this rate, we may import additional 42 billion solar equipments by 2030. So that is a huge margin for China, right?
Yes.
So we need to become Atmanirbhar in this solar
Yes.
power sector. So like we need to work upon that, and what happens is when we generate this solar cell, right? So what happens in a solar cell, there is use of semiconductor,
Yeah.
and silicons comes into play, right?
Yeah.
So for this semiconductor industry is already like progressing in India,
Yeah.
and like our government is already trying to ramp up the production of semiconductors by defeating Taiwan in the production process, right? So we need to work upon that, and semiconductor and solar power are like
Yeah.
both connected in
Both
one
these
another.
industries go hand in hand. So it will be
Yeah.
good for us that they grow together.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It is also important that these industries go, so that our over dependency on China decreases.
Yeah, China and USA, basically USA is also like
Yeah.
huge importer of this solar cell, so we need to work upon that. And I think our transport minister, which is Mr. Nitin Gadkari, he is also working on some projects on clean energy, and he wants India to shift on ethanol and about the electric vehicles, so that
Yeah.
is also an alternative for green energy,
Yeah.
right? So he also has a very good vision for India, I think.
Yeah. Like recently, I also read that
Hmm.
Reliance invested over 5.95 lakh crore rupees in green energy sectors in Gujarat. They plan to spend these 6 lakh crore rupees in the span of 10-15 years to make the state of Gujarat net zero and carbon free. And they will also, their plan is to set up at least 100 gigawatts of renewable energy power plants and green hydrogen ecosystem. So besides that, they also plan to invest another 60,000 crores in setting up new energy manufacturing renewable sectors, like to build up solar PV modules, electrolyzers, fuel cells, energy storage batteries. And as you were talking about the EVs now, the electric vehicles, so recently I read today only that the New Delhi Municipal Council has announced that it will stop purchasing petrol and diesel vehicles for its employees, and it will partner with renewable power providers, and they will put out smart bikes and e-scooters for the
Okay.
for the entirety of their area, and they would also set up 100 e-charging stations for the vehicles.
Hmm.
So even in my city, I've seen that there are a lot of e-bike zones when you
Hmm.
go to the town. So the steps are being taken by the government, and it is very exciting to see where it goes.
Yeah, it is very nice of like the private players are also taking role in our nation progress. So it feels very good about that. And like there is this port which is in Gujarat. I don't remember the name. Let me check. Where all the fossil fuels come and the processing happens, like
Okay.
extraction of petrol happens.
Yeah.
I think Jamnagar, yes, Jamnagar is this city in Gujarat
Hmm.
where there is this crude oil refinery owned by Reliance, right? So Reliance is also installing a proper, like I think solar cell manufacturing plant there. So what happens is they are using about 200 acres of land for installing that solar cell manufacturing like factory, and they are trying to uh, like use the fossil fuels factory which is being used to convert fossil fuels into petrol, and they are using it for this green energy purpose. And Adani is also doing the same, like he is also trying to invest in this in green energy sector
Yeah.
because he sees that this thing has a bright future ahead.
Yes, obviously. There's a lot to invest in this.
Right.
Uh,
अब क्या?
अभी एक वो ग्लोबल प्लान बचा है मेरे पास.
Okay.
So we can also discuss about the global plan for this transition, to green energy. So on a bigger stage, uh, the plans are quite big than what is on the level of countries. Like I read on the World Economic Forum that it is possible to shift to 100% sustainable energy in the span of 30 years. It is possible, but it is really hard, and it would take all the global leaders and the big businessmen and the policymakers, to come together for this massive transition. And it's interesting to see that United Nations suggests that it would we have to, in any way possible, to turn to at least 70 to 80% of electricity which is produced by green resources. Otherwise we will most likely lose the battle of climate change. So it is very important that by 2050 at least we reach 70% to 80% of electricity produced by green resources. So what's your take on
Right,
that?
and I think it goes by step. Like first of all, we are into generating electricity by renewable sources, and then we need to shift towards our vehicle industry. And
Yeah.
after the vehicle industry, we need to work upon like the other things. For example, like look at the factories which are generating emissions, and try to convert them into green energy factories, right?
Yeah.
So like there the pollution is very less, and the renewable energy is also seen like increase from last year. It
Yeah.
was about it saw an increase of about 2-3%, and the use of other fossil fuels declined in that period,
Yeah.
right? So we have also seen growth. Global electricity generation also jumped to 29% in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. Countries are definitely taking steps. Like in 2020, the total investments of
Mm,
the total global investment by countries and the European Union for
mm.
these renewable resources was $501 billion.
Mm.
The overall
Oh my god.
investment, yeah, $501 billion. And
Mm.
in 2017, I guess, in 2017 I read that it was somewhere around $220 billion. So within 3 years it more than doubled. So it is
Mm.
good that the countries are taking initiatives to make the change,
Mm.
but we definitely have a shortage of time, and we definitely need, you know to be more uh, concerted in our efforts to reach these targets.
Right.